Afolabi Brand. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, ladies.
Good morning.
And our amazing audience, thank you for joining us.
Welcome to the show.
Always a pleasure having you on Wednesdays. YK, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
I like the hair again.
Thank you. I spoke to someone, one CSP yesterday, I hope he's watching. He says, I saw you on the show, you're great here. You are a big mommy now. I say, well,
now you're flaunting the hair.
Yeah, I'm not flaunting it, I'm just tired.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. See, I carried my scarf.
No, please.
But I just
Don't wear that scarf, YK.
It's beautiful. And the way you packed it, so nice.
Thank you.
Like
it's a matter of opinion as to the beauty. My opinion is it's not beautiful.
What about God's opinion? What does he think about the hair?
It doesn't really
matter to him.
Doesn't matter.
Right. Okay. Cool.
He too is fully grey.
so
grey jam grey.
But it's good to be grey now.
Good to have
get
you.
to that stage.
I guess.
Yeah, good. Any gist for us? Anything?
No gist.
Same more.
we're planning collaboration.
I mean, it's only collaboration that is on my mind.
Everywhere, it's bigger. YK, that's a big deal. Like it's
Anyway,
everywhere.
let's
many
move on
states and
to
all of that.
Obiajulu. How are you doing, Obiajulu?
I'm good. I'm all
This
right.
is your smoking you've been doing recently. What's the deal with this?
They say it fits me now. Is it not? You go in line with what they say suits
What
you.
they say.
Okay.
I think it suits me too.
All right, how are you doing there?
I'm good. Yesterday I was having, I was checking my accounts. I was asking myself, no, good, okay. Why, how come I'm so broke at this stage? I now checked, wrote down everything. I'm like, okay, I spent so much because I had to host a couple of sets of people in my house this period. So I'm now like, okay, what I have now, will it last me
Usually
till the end of the month?
Because I am of the month is always broke time.
As in,
because you've been spending the last that way you spend everything and start school fees. So by second week, you are really managing.
Your eyes are red. My eyes are red right now.
Third week, nobody should try ask me for money.
Nobody. I'm not even smiling with anybody.
End of the month, I can still say, okay, maybe I can try and manage. But second and third week, you're wasting your time. How are you doing, Tokwe?
I'm very good. A thought that occurred to me when I was listening to a message this morning was that people have baggages, they have debts, and you can decide to receive it or not. And it was I like the example of somebody insults you. The person has enough insults in the system. You can decide to welcome the insult and let it pollute your day. Or you can decide to say, keep your insults. I keep my joy. And I think that that's what we must deliberately embrace so that we don't react every time somebody throws insults at us.
But it's not easy, Tokwe. I know it's not easy.
You can't move me, right?
Very good.
Joyful at the moment.
Yes,
So even if I insult your wig.
YK, you can call me anything you want to call me. I am joyful at this moment.
Amen.
Your horse hair.
My horse.
It's actually good too. The one they call human hair
is goat hair.
According to one TV station, news station, it's goat hair that they do in China.
It's my hair.
All the goats are about.
Yeah. Money is paid for it. It's my hair. Please let them go and sit down.
Okay, just goats from goats.
Whatever. Let's go to a break. When we come back, we'll breeze through the front pages of the newspapers. Stay with us. We'll be right back. With the punch, as usual. Buhari versus Atiku. Tribunal rules today, APC, PDP confident of victory. IMN alleges 15 Shiites killed. Police say 64 arrested. Fayemi's wife escapes attack as FUOU, and I think that's the Federal University of Oye-Ekiti. Protest turns violent. Abducted Ondo professor found dead in bush. Adeyeye loses seat. Ajimobi fails in Senate bid. Minimum wage. Federal government, Labour agrees on fresh talks. Government begins evacuation today. Abonfe tents in South Africa. And the APC repays my sacrifice with evil, says Okorocha. Okay, lots of stories here. Let's start with the
headline.
The major headline, Tribunal, today?
No, sorry, the
Shiites. Shiites, go ahead, Waki.
A lot of them had peaceful protests. According to the police, they said if you are a non-Shiite, you can have your procession. But if you are a Shiite member, IMN, you cannot. So in Katsina, Bauchi, Gombe, I think.
And Kano.
And no, Kano, they didn't come out. The Shiites didn't come out in Kano. They said they saw the police and they ran back.
The two issues the lawyers came on, they said that because the government had proscribed IMN, any protest they do is seen as terrorist possession, and that was wrong. Other lawyers are saying it was IMN that was prescribed, not Shia, which is a sect of Islam, of Muslims. So the Shias can actually protest, like other lawyers are saying that. So that's the argument. But regardless, they had their protest, and a few people got killed also.
About 15%.
The police are denying it.
Yes, they have not confirmed it. But the thing is, how do you now separate the IMN members and the Shia worshippers?
Exactly.
This was actually a religious procession that they had.
They were not protesting or anything. They were just marching. So in some states, they allowed them, but it was just those like 3 or 4 states.
Let's pick the Ondo professor that was killed.
No, I want to say the power story because for me, that's affecting me. I'm not saying power.
The Ondo professor is in other papers.
Yes, the power situation, we dropped below 3,000 megawatts. Again, we had a record of 2,866. And you see, the challenge is that under the NIPP, the National Integrated Power Project, we had 6 new power plants and none of them are working. So we have 10 idle power plants right now, not generating any power at the moment. And whatever the excuse they are giving, we don't know. They say because the discos are not asking for more power, they don't have enough line to carry it. We Nigerians are feeling the impact of not having electricity, feeling the impact of the electricity power dropping. So our new power minister, please get on the...
Okay.
The Nation,
let's get it working.
Ex-Chief Justice quizzed over the $9.6 billion contract verdict. Police Shiites involved words over killings during procession. Federal government proposes 9.78 trillion naira budget in 2020. Diezani forfeits 14.4 billion naira jury to federal government. Ajimobi Adeyeye loses at tribunal. And FBI combs Nigeria for $1.2 billion cyber fraudsters. Okay, that's not totally correct because what FBI is doing, they're combing over 9 nations, not just Nigeria, for that $1.2 billion. So Nigeria is amongst the countries they are looking for this money, but it's not only Nigeria they're looking for this money.
Yeah, but Nigeria partnered, EFCC has officially partnered with FBI, and in the past 3 weeks, they've been able to arrest over 167 Nigerians, and they've captured 92 million naira. These are internet-based funds coming in that has been intercepted, so they will be able to repatriate the money, and people will be arrested and prosecuted by EFCC. It was a joint press conference with EFCC and FBI saying that this has been a successful journey. And
also another update on the $9.6 billion. EFCC is still on this case, and what they found so far is that the ex-CJN, that's Alpha Belgore, possibly testified against Nigeria during arbitration. So they're investigating and they're trying to find out exactly. So they invited him for a chat to know what exactly did you say that implicated Nigeria, and also they are investigating the circumstances in which that contract was given out to PNID in the first place. So investigation is ongoing. I'm pretty happy about that. Hopefully, we can get out of this major issue. Moving on now is another story we want to take in Nation. Jerry Dezani, $40 million.
40 billion.
Is it $40 billion or million dollars?
In Naira, I mean.
14.4 billion naira.
Yes.
But it's $40 million. 40, that's a lot for Jerry.
14 billion naira.
Wow. Anyway, it's been finally forfeited, which is good.
Thank God.
They said
who's going to buy it?
The court said they couldn't find how she earns the money to have that much jewelry. Her salary doesn't justify that amount of jewelry. So
moving on to Daily Sun. So you have plenty more, and it's Jerry decided to go and use 14 billion.
In a country where there's
her own case is that they entered her house illegally. There was no warrant.
So as you talk, I said, who's going to buy it?
Who will buy it? That's the thing.
There's an auction, the people will buy.
Okay, let's move on to
if it enters my hand, it becomes a scented jewelry. Scentful.
Moving on to Daily Sun. Judgment day for Buhari and Atiku. Biafra Kanu insists on referendum in address to EU parliamentarians. Bailout fund deduction. State on verge of bankruptcy. Kidnapped Ondo varsity lecturer found dead. And 320 Nigerians arrived from South Africa today. Which story are we taking?
IPOB.
Go ahead.
So Nnamdi Kanu has written a 4-page briefing to the European Parliament saying that IPOB will continue to be peaceful in their campaign, that what they are after is for them to be recognized as a country, looking at what has happened with the Python dance that happened against the people of Biafra, and the international bodies are not saying anything about the terrorism against the Igbo people, but they will continue to push it, and they are calling for a referendum, which is more like having a public vote. Since they want to be separated as a country, it should be granted to them. US has acknowledged it, UK has acknowledged it.
Let's take one more story from Sun.
Yeah, so bailout funds that was given to all the 35 states will now start getting deducted from next month. And the challenge is that they're saying some states will be facing bankruptcy if they have to lose that fund. It was a total of 614 billion bailout fund given to these states. The minister for Zainab Ahmed said that this situation would not be, the money refunded won't be used to fund the budget for 2020, that because this was a loan gotten from central bank anyway, so it's just getting the money back. So I'm wondering how those state governments are currently struggling to pay salaries now would fare when they deduct from source.
And actually, if
because this fund
the state is number 1.
They are going to be deducted from source, YK.
And if you recall, some of the states are actually contesting this, saying that they've also invested in building some federal government infrastructures. So they're going to net it off. That was the negotiations they were having a few weeks back.
Yes.
But right now, obviously, the government is saying they're going to deduct from source.
Another thing that he mentioned
Followed
was
by
that
Delta.
our bill has gotten to, our personnel cost as a country is now 3 trillion. That's what we spend as personnel cost alone. It's too
Nigerian
much. We need to reduce this expense.
Nigerian Tribune, the 614 bailout fund, that's what we just talked about. Fayemi's wife convoy attacked, one feared killed. Lebanese murder dumped inside well in Lagos. Niger Republic bans rice exportation to Nigeria. That's the other story. That's the only story we'll not take. Let's talk about Fayemi's wife for a second.
So,
what happened?
Governor Fayemi's wife went to speak at the university,
No, she went to
the university or
Ekiti.
She was going for an event. She was going to speak at an event.
Local government talk.
Yeah, so she's been doing that generally, an empowerment project that she's doing around the states. And the university students blocked our convoy, vandalized some of the vehicles that were in our convoy, and they said that some people were feared killed. Many of the journalists that were with her feared injured. Not even feared, they were injured, and they were protesting the fact that they don't have power supply. I don't know how power supply involves Mrs. Fayemi, but that was what they were protesting, that the school hasn't gotten power supply. The Fayemi team are saying that they should have held the discos accountable or protest towards
that,
those.
it was even the school officials are saying that, listen, it's not the state government that is actually in charge of the power supply. However, it is the discos and the federal government, so it's not in their own capacity.
I'm wondering how can our youth be so misguided? You're in the university, you're getting education, and the thought that came to your mind is to turn into a violent protest against your leader.
Yes.
I think you need to remember that our youth, they are already misguided. Forget about whether they turn it against their leader. Look at what happened with the xenophobia thing. I mean, people just went, they were looting people, they were looting cars. So it's orientation.
Totally wrong.
We need to reorientate our youth.
Totally completely wrong.
Yes. The
Young
Lebanese
people have
story.
actually... okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so this Lebanese man was killed by his domestic staff. He traveled and came back, and by the time he got back, his Maiduguri Megad and the Cameroonian kitchen cook brought in people into the house. They were living with other people. So he saw new faces, and then he decided to ask them, who are these people in my house? They had an argument, and then 2 of them killed him, butchered him, and threw him into a septic tank. So it was one of his relations who came to visit, who noticed, traced the blood to the septic tank and called the police. So investigations are ongoing. The 2 Megads, the Megad and the cook, they fled. So I hope that
really sad story.
they catch them.
Okay, the final paper of Vanguard, bailout pressure on states, on federal government starts deductions. Abducted applied maths professor murdered in Ondo. Very sad story. How I stopped Jonathan from giving life pension immunity to National Assembly members, says Adoke. IMN claims 12 killed as police dispersed members on street procession. First batch of 320 Nigerians back from South Africa today, says Envoy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about South Africa and then the Ondo professor.
So we have 620 people have indicated interest in coming back to Nigeria. These Nigerians are currently in South Africa, and some of them have shut down their business. The spokesperson for Nigerian Union in South Africa said that even though things are a bit calm, South African businesses have opened up, but the Nigerian and other foreigners haven't opened their businesses there because they don't know if they are fearful of an attack. Out of the 620 that have indicated interest in coming back to Nigeria, the first batch on Wednesday this morning have taken off from South Africa, which is 320 people, and they'll be arriving.
In addition
today.
to that, the witness also said that Pretoria is safe because they see police on the road.
Yes.
But Johannesburg is still, there are no police there to protect them, so they're still a bit scared, but Pretoria right now is at least fairly safe for foreigners to stay.
Yeah, the Ondo professor.
The professor.
Yeah, him and his driver were attacked. The driver escaped, he didn't. And when they finally found him, he was dead. And the police are saying that nobody reported, the family didn't report, and the kidnappers didn't even make any...
So that makes it suspicious, you know, because usually kidnappers call for ransom.
Yeah.
So for the fact that he was found dead, they said they were abducted, the driver fled, they now found, I think it was a week after or so, that they now found him dead. So that's pretty suspicious.
Clear case of assassination.
The driver
they didn't
was
ask
the
for
one
ransom.
that reported to the police, actually.
Yeah.
According to the police, it was the driver
Really
that
sad. Our
reported.
hearts go out to the families of the professor and also the university. Those, it's really, really sad. They lost a mathematician. He was a mathematician, actually. Okay, let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll be discussing Nigeria border closure and its ripple effect on the Nigerian economy. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Welcome back. Before we go into our hot topics, it's important to let our viewers know that President Buhari and the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar case, which is in the Court of Appeal, the ruling is currently ongoing and will be cutting into there at some moment to find out the judgment, because that's what's happening right now, live from the Court of Appeal. But first, prices of foodstuff and other commodities have increased as the borders remain partially closed. This is as a result of joint security exercise conducted by the Customs, Immigration, and other security outfits aimed at securing Nigeria's borders. What are your thoughts on this? We went on the street to hear people's opinion about the fact that lots of foodstuff have become quite expensive. Watch this.
My own point of view is that before our president will ask them to close the border, should have provided another thing for the poor. Because now, before the closure of the border, you were selling a kilo of chicken 1,000 naira. Now it's 1,800. 1,800 for the turkey, then 1,600 for the chicken. I know it's not everybody that can afford it, but some people are still buying it, those who can afford.
I believe in, making sure we're patronizing our own citizens. And I really don't think it's rocket science for us to have these chickens produced here in Nigeria. We have a lot of places we can do these things, but then the government just needs to empower people. I know that's the cliche, we've been hearing that for so long a time, but then when are we going to start off?
It has affected a lot of things. Even my husband's business, it has affected it. The money he comes home with, he's crying. He said, how do I cope? Why would the government close the border? Of course, we don't know their reasons anyway, but whatever it is, we are asking them. Let them do something for the benefit of the masses. Afterwards, we voted them there, and they are there for us.
I know the amount of smuggled cars that come into Lagos, and when they come, I'm sure they come with not just rice. Sometimes they come with ammunition and other things. So government closing the border might have their reasons for closing the border.
Interesting. In the papers today also, we're told that Customs seized 6,000 bags of rice. So obviously smuggling is a big issue. Joining us on the phone is the Public Relations Officer of the Nigeria Customs, Mr. Joseph Atta. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. It's my pleasure to be on your show.
Yes, good to have you. Now, we know a few weeks ago the border, we thought it was partially closed, but now we're being told it's been actually closed fully. Is that correct?
No, it's partially closed to the extent that individuals can go in and, can come in and go out with valid papers.
Oh, great. Now, the issue of the fact that goods are being smuggled in, and we understand the objectives of the customs of trying to stop foreign goods from smuggling into our country. However, this has spiraled into an increase in these commodities. What can we do, or what are you doing to ensure that at least Nigerian businesses Nigerian businesses are properly encouraged and not discouraged by this shutting down of the border?
Well, I think it's rather too simplistic to use just simple one word to describe what is happening. What is happening at the border goes beyond the issue of smuggling of food and whatever. It has to do with security. It has to do with national security. We are talking about stepping our acts and our state of preparedness against trans-border crimes and criminalities, such as terrorism, arms and ammunition trafficking, drug trafficking, and all that, things that can negatively impact on our economy and our security. Having said that, we are not unmindful of the fact that an exercise of this nature, we have some sort of inconveniences here and there, one of which is the issue of the prices in the market. Of course, if one source of supply is dependent on the smuggler, then this action will definitely affect such a person. But those who deal on local goods and all that, we find more patronage. But as I said, the emphasis here is on national security. And once your security is at stake, I think it is imperative that you secure yourself first before you think of any other thing. Because
Sir,
you need to be alive before you even do business.
All right.
Okay, sir, I hear that. I want to ask, how easy has it been for the customs and the immigration officers? Because I hear that some smugglers are still finding loopholes. They are going through bikes and finding some areas that they still come in through. How easy has it been for you?
Well, you know, before this exercise, it is this very thing you are talking, the issue of people passing or taking advantage of the porous border. You know, Nigeria is a big country in the sub-region with a long, widening, largely porous border. And because of that, and of course, our neighbors are not helping matters. Once the fiscal policy of Nigeria says we don't want this, they will change their own fiscal policy to take advantage of the Nigerian fiscal policy. This has encouraged the use of this porous border to the disadvantage of Nigeria. Okay. The coming together of these forces, our security forces, the armed forces, police, immigration, and all this, means that we now have more people, more equipment, more technology to reach where hitherto we are not reached.
All right, point taken. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. First and foremost, because I travel that border a lot,
Yes.
there are at least 50 checkpoints from Seme border into till you get to Festac. There are at least 50 checkpoints. Can you not? What are those people doing? Those security officials. You have immigration, you have customs, you have everybody there harassing motorists as you are going. That is number one. Number two, I know for a fact there are at least 50 petrol stations that they have never sold petrol in their lives. Those petrol stations are only used for smuggling. We know. We can't say we don't know. We know. They are still there.
So
that's.
So it's closing the border the solution.
Because it is making it painful for the citizens. Closing the border is making life, is disturbing the life of the citizens.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, I can see that you're not just asking. I can see how passionate you are in answering these questions. But let me just quickly address the first one, talking about checkpoint. Once you are talking about checkpoint, you are narrowing your question to only the approved route. It is the activities that take place in this approved route that appears to encourage some of these checkpoints you are talking about. Even though in keeping with the ease of doing business, customs in recent time have collapsed its checkpoints to 2. But then you also find other situations where people have already taken advantage of the porous border, and then you now hear that these people are on they have hit the highway, and then there's not the need to go on patrol to stop and search, and that increased the number of stopping and searching on this road. We believe strongly that coming as one of the benefits of this joint exercise, of course, you know that through this exercise, a lot of reports are reaching the Office of the National Security Advisor. Intelligence are being gathered because the number of security forces now have enabled us to reach hitherto unreached areas.
I'm getting a bit confused. I don't think I understand.
Taken. Going forward, it will lead to a decision, including, because I'm not ruling this out, including the acquisition of non-intrusive equipment that will help us effectively police.
All right, Mr. Atta, I want to be sure that our viewers. Hello, sir. I want to be sure.
Take care of this one you're talking about.
Okay.
Let's
I want to be sure.
deal with the cost.
Okay.
The cost.
I want to be sure our viewers understand.
The cost of keeping the security there, instead of the security doing the work, is even more now.
So, Mr. Joseph, Mr. Atta, I want to ask you this question. Do you feel this is the most intelligent way to go about securing Nigeria? Because there are many other countries that have gone through challenges like this, and they didn't have to shut borders and inconvenience their citizens to do it. The issue of border porosity has always been the fact that custom officials there are a few corrupt ones there that allow these smuggled things go through. So is it not better for you to take out the corrupt ones that now shut the border? It's like saying that they are stealing from banks. Banks now closed down. Or because your head is paining you, you cut off the head. Because the impact is on Nigerian people's pockets. The cost is high.
Okay. I like your question. I must point out that there are always ways that things can be better. Now, let me tell you, there's no nation in this world, not even the most developed America, that could beat its chest and say, look, there's no cases of smuggling. Otherwise, we've been hearing Donald Trump talking about building walls. So there's always a challenge in border management.
We should. Why don't we build our own wall?
I hope I'll be allowed to answer this question.
Please do.
Because I have not even answered the petroleum question. We jumped into a different one, so I missed the whole thing.
Please.
So yes, I agree with you. There will always be better ways of doing things as strategies change, as even the criminal change their strategies. Of course, managers of security will also think of ways of managing these issues. Okay, looking at our border, the problem of our border goes beyond even Nigerians. I'm talking about deliberate refusal of our neighbors to keep to the ECOWAS protocol on transit.
Okay, Mr. Atta, I have to pause you for a second. Sorry, I have to cut into the tribunal right now.
We lead to a point
Mr. Atta,
where we all come back to a drawing board.
Mr. Atta, I have to pause you for a second, please. I need to go into the courtroom right now because the judgment between our president and the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, is ongoing right now. And now our viewers would like to see what's happening in the courtroom. Let's watch this.
Ken Boza, Dayo Akilaja, Nanso Mekani, Chief Olushola, and last but not least, Akin Oshibadi. Today we played that a part of the rule by also announcing some of our colleagues who are here and whose names have been tipped. I'd like to start with number 16.
you will see what's happening right now. So we'll continue to cut in as we're hearing the judgment, because Nigerians are very interested in that story. But in the meantime, I'll let Mr. Joseph Atta complete what he was saying earlier concerning the answer to the question. Mr. Atta, are you still there?
Yeah, I am.
Please go ahead. Oh, okay.
Can I go ahead with my response?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
One more question for you. Go ahead.
Okay, so, sir, I am happy with the partial closure of the border because I know that this will help to improve our economy, seeing that we are a consumer nation and everything we get, we import from the outside. So I'm happy with that. But I would
pause you for a second. I have to go on a break.
Oh,
sorry about that. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Okay, welcome back. As I said earlier, we'll be cutting in intermittently to the courtroom as the tribunal is reading the judgment currently between our president and the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar. Okay, we still have the Nigeria Customs PRO officer, Mr. Joseph Atta. Are you still there, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'll let you complete the question concerning the petrol stations that YK asked earlier.
Yes, I really like that question, and it shows that the person who asked that question is following the challenges we're having at our border.
Right.
The Nigerian Customs Service will be the first agency to tell you that, yes, proliferation of petrol stations too close to the borderline kind of encourages smuggling and makes interdiction of petrol smugglers near impossible for the Nigerian Customs Service. We've made this pronouncement so many times, public about it, and a formal complaint has been lodged, and as I speak, the appropriate authorities are putting their hands together to see how that can be dealt with, including revocation or even destruction, if possible, of that. So it's a very good question, and I thought Nigerians need to hear and know what is being done about that. Then going quickly to corruption.
Right.
Yes, you see, when they talk about corruption, there is a tendency to nail it only on the operatives. It takes two to tango. Look, when you are talking about corruption along our border lines today, while we admit that, yes, like every other organization, there are a few bad eggs, which we are dealing with. You know, the current Controller General of Customs does not tolerate that. He has dismissed and even handed over officers for prosecution in recent times. What is happening to fellow Nigerians, especially the border community dwellers, who collect handsets? Smugglers buy handsets, telephones, and give to them. They will buy machines, they will ride machines and go around and monitor the movement of anti-smuggling operatives. And then they will call them and say, look, officers are going to so place now. When you are coming, don't pass this road. Pass the other village. You pass the other village. You hit the highway. These are the kind of situations we are facing. And when we now hear about this information, our patrol officers will now rush to the road. Those are the people you see, and you keep counting as additional checkpoints. We are having challenge, and we need the media and the well-meaning Nigerians to support us. Yes, customs, there are bad eggs. Just like there are bad eggs in TPC and any other organization. There will always be bad eggs. What happens? Do we clap hands for them? No. You remember.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask one more question?
Okay, wait, Waike, let me let
that investigation we are investigation is indicated, and we handed them over for prosecution. In recent times, but what of fellow Nigerians? What are we doing?
Okay, I need you to hang in there for a second. Let me get one more question out.
Or as a business.
Okay,
sir. So we know that the plan is for us to improve our economy and secure our territory, secure our border, okay? But was there any form of, was there any plan you guys had to help the Nigerian people cushion the effects, the ripple effects of what is happening right now? Because things are expensive and there is no headway, there is no hope for the common man. Did you people put that in your plan before the closure of this border?
Well, I will continue to caution that we qualify the word closure. I think it's a partial closure.
Yeah.
It's a partial closure. It's not total closure. And I admit that, yes, while this thing is going on, there will be some form of temporary inconveniences here and there. But ultimately, this is for the good of Nigeria, Nigerians. And I'm concerned that in all these our discussions in the last 10 minutes, nobody has talked about security. We're talking about food. We're talking about prices.
We are hungry. We are hungry. We cannot buy chicken. Mr. Joseph Atta, we cannot buy chicken. We are hungry.
Nobody's talking about that.
We should not talk about all that.
I was going to ask.
You need to be alive.
Excuse me, sir.
You need to be safe to reach the studio.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
You need to be safe to eat, Abi. Thank you, Mr. Atta. Don't mind them. Go ahead.
As we have closed the border, you know, we Nigeria, we export a lot as well. We export a lot of goods. Hello, sir.
Yes.
We export a lot of goods. So is it affecting those people exporting? And then when they export it, we export it as raw material, and they import it back to us as, because we don't develop it here. While we are doing that, can we stop exporting crude as well?
Why let them answer the first question. Why is ready for this?
Because we import the
Mr. Atta,
we import the food back as finished products.
Let me get the answer. Mr. Atta, are you there?
Can you rephrase that question?
Okay, let me help you rephrase. What she's saying is that we also export lots of raw materials. So does this closure affect them also? And even if they export these raw materials, bringing them back in processed, would it not affect also our economy?
You see, there are situations that certain decisions need to be taken. When decisions are taken that is aimed at securing the nation and providing a better enabling environment for our business to thrive, I think it is only patriotic that we look at the benefit of what is being done. Ultimately, it's for the good of the business people. Ultimately, it's for the security of Nigerians. And it is to ensure that going forward, our neighbors do not take advantage of our big brotherliness, if there's a word like that.
Interested. All right.
Okay, so I understand the pains of the strong and loyal custom officers that are struggling against the corrupt Nigerians that are inducing them with bribes. And I also understand that I don't think this conversation is complete without saying that smuggling is not a career. And it is not good for our economy. And a lot of people have created a career out of smuggling. Smuggling is not a career option. But when the custom is doing this on one hand to stop smuggling, but the country hasn't created a framework that will encourage Nigerian legitimate businesses to succeed, are we not just killing people unnecessarily?
Is that a good...
Shouldn't we find a way to carry the balance along? So yes, I started by saying smuggling is not a career. Nobody should be making a living off smuggling. It hurts our economy.
Nigerian businesses.
Shouldn't we have legitimate businesses that will provide this?
We do. Farmers are growing.
We have rice. We have rice in my area.
He says it's not because of smuggling that they have closed the border. It's because of security.
The chicken price has gone up. If we have enough, everybody is eating chicken, and chicken price has gone up. So please.
Listen.
You should answer the question.
Nobody wants to be a farmer. How many people are farmers here?
There are many farmers because of farming.
They all want to have the blue-collar job. Hello, Mr. Atta, go ahead.
Okay. I agree with you. Smuggling is not a career. Smuggling is not business. Smuggling is a crime. In fact, it's a mother of, it's like a woman that gives birth to so many children. Because it is through smuggling that armed robbers will have their supply, have the hard drugs and other things that will give rise to other crimes and criminality. So I totally agree with you. I also agree with you that we are entitled to have our own businesses. We have it. But how do we achieve this? If, for instance, the government pump a lot of money and other well-meaning individuals and organizations pump a lot of money to the agricultural sector, and our neighbors continue to impact on actions that will assault our collective drive towards food sufficiency. There is a need to take action. Of course, already we are hearing, it's not for me to say, we are hearing that the decisive decision by government is making some of our the people around us to reconsider their policies. So going forward...
All right, let me pause you for some second. I need to get some comments from our audience and tweets. Let's get a few tweets and I'll come to the audience. 1 or 2 questions from you. Go ahead.
Okwefa Richard says, the decision has increased the level of hardship faced by Nigerians. I hope our government listens to the people. Kenneth Afo says, well, that's the general perception of but journalists should do due diligence to monitor the seized goods and where those seized goods are actually going. It will lead to major breakthrough.
Okay, that's an important one. The seized goods. When you seize cars, seize chicken, seize tomatoes, seize rice,
and you sell
where
it for
does
peanuts.
it go?
Let me respond to that quickly.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's simple. Let me start with the rice and other perishable that you just talked about. Yes. In the last 3 years, the federal government, as Mr. President in his own magnanimity, directed the Comptroller General of Customs to send all this to the victims of insurgency in the Northeast. And just this year, he now said, look, this can also be extended to other less privileged Nigerians, like the orphanages and the IDP camps across the country.
So we saw politics.
We don't see that. Now, let me respond to the cars, the one of the vehicles.
Let him
that
finish.
one is, in fact, that one is right there on your desk. That one, the auctioning of vehicles today in Nigeria is electronic based.
Okay.
I can just give you for free now, app.trade.gov.
Okay, so it's free online.
That is the link.
But sir, we had women crying. Sir, wait, please. There were women crying 3 weeks ago.
You don't need to know
that
Mr. Atta, hang in 1 second, please. 1 second.
We had women crying 3 weeks ago that the papers carried their story because they brought in tomatoes. They said they went to farm across the borders, that it was their own farm, and that the tomatoes were brought in and seized and sold for peanuts.
200 naira.
200 naira per basket. We know how much tomato goes for. So what exactly happened, sir?
No, that issue is the... No,
Hello?
That issue should not be brought to this bigger discussion we are talking. It will actually, when the thing commences, let me just explain that to you because it's already sorted out. When the joint exercise commenced, some tomatoes were actually intercepted, assumed or whatever to be coming from across the border. But then the farmers and even the traditional rulers, they met, they discussed. Those issues have been sorted out. It's been cleared and it's no longer an issue. The tomato issue.
Did the women get back their tomatoes? Were they compensated for that? Were the women compensated for the tomatoes?
Did you hear any complaints from any of them?
No. Okay, all right. Okay.
Excuse me, sir. There's an important question here.
I understand clearly that they met in Abeokuta. I speak to you from Abuja.
No worries. Let's leave it at that. Let me take one more question from the Twitter.
The Twitter question here. Andrew from Streatham says, why don't you use drones, Mr. Joseph Atta? They can patrol the skies 36 hours in one flight. Drones don't discriminate.
Very good question.
Okay.
That is what I said earlier. That coming from this particular exercise, from observations, from reports, from intelligence that is being gathered, going forward, I use the word, decisions that will be taken will include acquisition of non-intrusive equipment. By that, I'm referring to technology is already top on the list. So it's a very good question, and I agree totally that that can help us.
On that note, Mr. Atta, I'll have to let you go. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this with us. We're going to go on a break now. When we come back, we discuss about Nigerians, how they're treated abroad. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Okay, thanks for staying with us. So for a while now, the issue of xenophobic attacks on foreigners, especially in South Africa, have been on our lips. However, today we're going to be looking at another angle, which is the treatment of Africans, especially Nigerians in the diaspora. Report has it that many of our people, Nigerians, get the worst treatment, especially at airports, and are particularly set aside for extra checking. When corruption is mentioned, they do not think twice, but think Nigeria. Now, would this ever stop? That's the reports we hear. But we'd like to join us on the show now is the Director General, Center for Protection of Diaspora in Nigeria, Mr. Alexander Orji. Welcome to the show, sir.
Welcome, sir.
070 is the number to call, 806-68014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. As I said before, the ruling on the tribunal is ongoing right now, so we're likely to be cutting in intermittently to the court to know what's going on between the case of our President, Muhammadu Buhari, and the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar. So we know lots of Nigerians want to know what's going on, and we'll definitely be going in and out to see how far that is going. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Nigerians living in diaspora. Many people travel and complain the fact that they feel always intimidated, they feel harassed, they feel suspected all the time, you know, that, oh, once they hear you're Nigerian. As somebody who lives in diaspora, do you come across this, and what are your thoughts when you get this kind of reports? Is that true, or is that just false?
Well, I think each and every one of us has had one or two different experiences. But again, it's how we manage the situation and also the follow-up afterwards, because it's about the perception. It's how you are viewed at home and how you also present yourself. Because, of course, there's still so many Nigerians that still get past the airports and various countries without hitches. So the major thing is that we have, over time, over the years, been branded a very bad name. And, you know, the easiest way to kill a dog is to brand it a bad name. And anywhere it passes, people will definitely trust us at it. So what has happened in the case of us that I think our management, you know, image, because everything about life is about image. So if you bastardize your image, don't expect any other person to rebrand it. You get? And that has, over the years, rubbed on all of us as a Nigerian. And do not forget that it's not about the tribal, you get, or where you're coming from. But once you're a Nigerian with a green passport, you're looked, you know, with a second thought. And what should we do to begin to have a different approach
in your organization, with your group that you do, what do you try to do to change this perception? Is there anything you do together to put the Nigerian diasporas together where you fight these type of perception issues we have?
Okay, Center for Protection of Nigerians in Diaspora came on board as an advocacy because the biggest challenge we have as a nation is ill-informed individuals. Okay. And we're of the opinion that if people are, you know, well-informed of who they are, their rights, even when you travel, even when you commit minor offenses, that you still have, you know, certain rights as a Nigerian. And it is onerous on us as a government to also reply and respond to its citizens whenever its citizens, you know, are found on the wrong side. You don't throw the bat with the baby, you understand? So a lot of these things over the years has happened unchecked because we, the people, have not consistently demanded for what is ours. Okay, and what is ours actually is our right, you get. So it's basically about us recognizing it first and then also educating Nigerians and also coming to their aid. Because what has actually happened is that when Nigerians have problems, they're isolated. In fact, they feel they're unwanted. You can't talk to the gods that are residents in Abuja because once they get into power, it's almost difficult to actually reach them. So it becomes, except you have a well-to-do family that can actually pursue your matter. Otherwise, you're probably incarcerated for no, no reasons.
There are two sides to the same coin. Okay. We have an issue of foreign nationals treating Nigerians bad. And we have an issue of Nigerians treating Nigerians bad. And this happens in the embassies across the countries. We have Germany, we have several countries where the Nigerians working in the embassies make it unbearable and stressful for the citizens, their citizens in those countries to get access to what they need to, their papers, get signed into immigrations, renew their passports, coming back to Nigeria. So it's not just the foreigners now treating Nigerians bad, but Nigerians as well. We had a video a couple of months back where most of them were complaining at the embassies that they had to go and come back and pay bribes to get and renew their passport. So what do you do in that case where it's the people that are treating their people bad outside the country?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for this question, because actually what we've, as a center, have started doing is to start to reach out to Nigerians. So at the beginning of this whole struggle, which is just barely a few months ago, initial things we encountered were these stories are coming up. And for, many of us have actually experienced this. But amongst the bad eggs, you still have the good recommendations. I don't think I've had this largely in Canada, and then a few other countries where this is minimal. But I will say a Nigerian is a Nigerian. We have few bad eggs. And those few bad eggs continue to rub on us. So they always take advantage of these situations. You have the events that happened in UK where a Nigerian who got tired of going to the embassy to pick up his passport, and at the end of it all had to go and vandalize the property. As we speak now, even though the case is not going to make any meaning because he is not going to be prosecuted. So, but
he's not going to be.
He's not going to be, because there are certain conventions that protect an individual when he's within his embassy. So for that, let's forget all the trips that the wastage of resources from our government agencies that went to brag, because basically there's nothing going to happen to him. But coasting at home, what has actually happened over time is that when these things come up, you complain. Don't forget that our country has become a norm. When you complain, nobody responds to you. And sometimes we act the ostrich attitude where we see the problem, you ask a question, then the individual decides to deviate. You understand? And then in defense, he say he's trying to defend his job, that he's meant to defend where he's actually housing or protecting. But the truth be told, is it fair enough? No, it's not. And that's why we at the center are coming out to advocate to Nigerians to say, no, enough is enough. They've gone at the days where you probably get all this treatment without us coming out to speak. So if you're treated unjustly, if for any reason you've been treated unjustly, if you've been duped in the past, because we've had so many terrible stories, and we're compiling these things, it's really bitter.
So you can help them?
Yeah, of course. We're coming out, and we're teaming up with well-meaning Nigerians to actually go in search and ask questions to get answers.
Fantastic.
So it's an assurance that definitely we will get some to the roots.
So Nigerians already, you've addressed the fact that we brought this on ourselves, some of it.
Yes.
The perception we brought on ourselves, because if we didn't commit that crime. However, there are many, in the scope of criminality, many other countries have citizens commit crime. But somehow that hasn't tainted or devalued their passport or their nationality, as we've experienced in Nigeria, where you are set aside and searched thoroughly. It's not like they're not doing drugs in other nations. So what exactly can our government do as a policy front to give the image that we are in control of our citizens are not entirely bad and we're dealing with the bad ones? What would you suggest the foreign minister does? What would you suggest that our ambassadors do to help us project the right image, or even give Nigerians a sense of when you go there, we have your back? What do you suggest they do?
Okay, first of all, it has to do with our own preparations. In recent time, with all the various attacks, and also I want to just put that to Nigerians that it is not only in South Africa that Nigerians have been attacked and killed and maimed. We also have the same thing happening in Malaysia, we're having it in China, we're having it in...
I thought those are criminals.
Until somebody has been found guilty and convicted, he's still innocent. That's by law. And so even if you're saying an individual is a criminal, let's come up with the records of what he was actually, caused. Like in the case of an individual, a Nigerian who was killed in South Africa on 29th of July, 29th of August, I meant to say, he was killed in front of his family. He was married to a South African, and the police in South Africa went and picked him up in the business where he runs. He runs actually a breakfast, like a restaurant. And then in the course of interrogating or continued beating, he died. And, it all happened in front of the family. But again, coming back again to the question, there is a complete ignorant attitude we've played to so many things in Nigeria. And we ask ourselves, what indeed is even our foreign policy? Because until now, that we have this pressure where our Minister of Information was coming out with a press statement. The spokesperson for the president, Femi Adesina, was coming out with a statement. The Minister of Foreign Affairs was coming out with a statement. And then the general public were also putting out things. Initially, it used to go like a norm that things will happen, and nobody cares about it. Okay, I'll give you an instance. I'll come back to it.
Yeah, because even this last one, it was because of the reaction of the Nigerians in Nigeria that we had government start checking and... Yeah.
I would even say it is...
It's been happening for a couple of years.
Yeah, I would even say it's the reaction from the international community that actually provoked the need to say, let's even look at it. Because look at the responses we're getting in terms of the time of reaction. Okay, for instance, let's go back a bit. Let's drift a bit. On June 13th, a lady, late Mrs. Ndubisi Chugu, went for a conference in South Africa and was murdered. Now, it came to the fore because the family decided to push the matter. And because of the international community, we're also interested. But do you know that immediately after that death, we have recorded over 10 Nigerians. In fact, a Nigerian was shot dead yesterday.
Wow.
That's how the numbers go increasing. On the alleged that is a robbery gone wrong. You get. But these things continue to happen in a soil that does not answer to us.
Yeah, so what could we do?
No. You know, initially people would call and say, oh, government should do something, government should do something. No, people are now coming out and say, government, use these various instruments. For instance, when we heard that Nigeria was recalling its ambassador to South Africa, it was an excitement. Everybody went out, you know, completely praising the president, praising the ministries for the interventions. As we speak now, the ambassador is not back. You get.
Let me pause you for a second. Let me pause you. I have a call that's been holding for a while. Good morning. Are you there from Badagry?
Good morning. From
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Okay, from Bariga.
Yes, Bariga. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I want to talk on the first topic.
Yes, very quickly. Go ahead.
Okay, closing of border does not help anybody and does not help anyone. It only enrich the politicians and the rich people. Because when they seize all these things, they give it to their wives. Their wives are the ones selling the chicken and the rice. And then talking about the lake rice, so Juru, please, where can I buy it? Because I've never, ever seen lake rice in Lagos State. Someone buy it. And again, please, secondly, try to display your numbers, or do you have to pay for the numbers to be displayed? For 1 hour, 20 minutes, the number just displayed just once.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Queen. We'll take that feedback very closely. And also, we'll talk about this issue of products, lake rice and chicken. We mentioned maybe sometime on that this week. Going back to what you're talking about.
Yes, please. Yes. Now, while all this is happening, we still question what is our foreign policy to intervening when we have this kind of crisis
do we even have a foreign policy?
All right. Now, initially, we started getting the feeders that, Nigeria is going to harness the South African firms and all that. And then again, you see where the problem is. The orientation and the knowledge an average Nigerian on the street has is completely low. Because in the first instance, the destructions we witnessed at the various franchises shouldn't have happened. We actually issued a press statement before the Ministry of Foreign Affairs actually did. Because we found there was a need to educate and enlighten Nigerians that you don't need to go and destroy what is your own. Today that we have done so, of what benefit and gain has it come to us? So now, we come back to the attitude of the people in charge. Over the years, it's not as if we've not had these reoccurrences. The statistics we have, going by a few that we have in terms of documentations, are over 127. And then the government comes out and says these figures. Every corner you hear these figures. And then yet, what is the government planning to do about it? Until recently, we actually made a mention after a meeting, roundtable meeting with some of our consultative lawyers, that we intend to sue the South African government to serve as a deterrent. Because the truth is this.
Is that what the government should have done?
Ideally, these are instruments. You know, initially I said people would always call or ask the government, say the government should do something. But now they've seen that the government is not being, speedy, proactive. Let's use the word speedy.
Vague.
Yeah, so some of those things. So they're now coming out and saying, use this instrument, use this instrument, use this instrument. And that is part of like, okay, let us hold on to this. Let us hold on to that. You get. Okay, well, let's even try recalling our ambassadors and send a message to the fact that we're not happy about this. But while we're even saying we're recalling our Nigerian ambassador, okay, we had the most comic attitude in Nigerian soil. The ambassador of South Africa to Nigeria was holding meeting with young Nigerians in the ambassador's office on arguments that they want to fly them to South Africa for a jamboree. And then to worsen the matter on a live coverage and on national news, we had the two factions fighting. No, we started the negotiations first. No, we're the ones that should get the tickets to fly to go to South Africa and all that.
Back down.
Now you see where we have misplaced priorities. The orientations of enlightening Nigerians, these and these and these, is not there. And then everybody considers you.
Orientation is our main problem.
Is the biggest problem. So, and a well-informed mind would always act better.
Okay, now, so I don't want us to focus so much on what the government did or not do, is how we treat, how our people are treated abroad. So what do we do to ensure, to enlighten and inform Nigerians living abroad such that they are not harassed or disrespected by other citizens from all across the world? What can they do? Because many of them actually watch us from here.
We actually want to pass this message to Nigerians wherever you are. You're a global citizen. You have the right to dwell anywhere legitimately. Yes. The best you can do as an ambassador for us as a nation is continue to live and project the good image we're known for. I'll tell you one good thing. Nigerians are good people.
Yes, we are.
The biggest problem we've had is that the bad ones have been the ones who've been exporting. The politicians are the ones who fly at will. I'm not saying all politicians are bad.
Let me pause you for a second. I have a call from South Africa. Good morning. Are you there? Our last call.
Good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Sorry.
You're live. Go ahead, please. Oh, sugar.
One very important tweet here. Andrew in Streatham says, but in all fairness to Nigerians, when at times crimes are committed in the UK, all those arrested will say they are Nigerians. The UK Home Office employs Nigerians to fish out fake or real Nigerians based on their knowledge of local markets in Nigeria. That has to do with the image we have already. So everybody just claims to be a Nigerian when caught in the act.
Even in the United States, we had a documentary which we've been trying to clear. There's so many ways that other African countries are also taking advantage in laundering our image. But the thing is, what are we as Nigerians also doing to correct that impression? I think it has to do with, first of all, us loving each other. Because we have a crisis at home. The worst we can have now is what is happening abroad. If we're not settled at home, it'll be difficult to pursue the solution abroad. Yeah. And it also has to do with the people in power need to understand that not just the fact that the people put them there, but you need to make yourself accessible. You're not gods. And when you limit people accessing you, you shut down to even listening or hearing the things that happen out there. Let's assume that these individuals have their own special papers. When you print a particular paper, I won't mention them, then you print their own differently. So they get to read something different than us will see.
No, that's speculation. But let me, the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, are you involved with them?
At the moment, we are not involved with any commission. We are an independent body.
Okay.
Our own is to really come out to cater for Nigerians. Okay. Because we've seen that there's been a situation of Nigerians being stranded. As we speak now, a lot of Nigerians being detained in different countries. Yes. Our helps get into them. As a citizen,
that's what the commission is meant to do.
Yes, that's what okay.
The new commission.
You come again and ask a question. Recently, there's been a common trend. Whenever the president is out, the foreign affairs minister is by the left, the diaspora commission is by the right, and they will ask, are these people, escort to the president? You are meant to, ensure that the duties for which the office was created for is actually being, ready to the people. But in a situation where you isolate and then this continued attitude of always going with the president, you're not going to bring in foreign investments. Let's be honest to ourselves. Most of the foreign investments that's actually come to this Nigeria actually came from private individuals.
Yes.
In fact, for instance, the ones that are from South Africa, we have about 126 companies that are doing extremely well in Nigeria today.
But
I'm talking about exclusively owned by South Africans. There are not out there. We're not saying we're going to put it out there, but we're saying that educate Nigerians, that the ones they see out there are not basically owned by South Africans. So, it's a joint venture.
This orientation that we're talking about, don't you think, first of all, we should first orientate
ourselves? Yes.
That's number one. But we need to orientate governments too. Because you see, it's a matter of teacher don't teach me nonsense.
No.
If I as a citizen, and she is a government official, and I see she has money. From nowhere, I can't see the source of the income. I just see that she has money every time. I'll be looking. Then I will want to be like her. And then I will go and do some fraud. Or cyber.
Cyber.
That is, I'm following my teacher.
Please stop talking about me, Jerry. But okay, we have to coast too.
So we have to orientate the government, orientate the people.
I'm crossbow. They're all Nigerians.
The thing is, there are so many areas we as a nation have lost it. It's costing home that we need as a nation. First of all, I think we need to help the National Orientation Agency. It's a body that's actually there to educate and enlighten Nigerians, especially in the issue of wealth acquisitions. You know, today, the target-driven is that once you wake up in the morning, is money, you know? And then you ask yourself, at the end of the day, what's the average desire of a Nigerian young man today? Car, women, house, that's all. He's not thinking of how to...
We're up in somewhere else. Unfortunately, we have to round up.
And then the preachings.
YK, when have you been to a church before?
Poverty is not your portion.
YK,
But it's not my portion.
See?
They won't take good help. It's not my portion. Unfortunately, we have to round up. We've lost. We'll bring you back for talking about all the issues, but we have to round up, YK.
Thank you.
YK, which church do you attend?
Don't worry.
They tell you that.
I go.
That's all we can take. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.